Hi everyone, Chris here, Men's Kitchen. I'm just going to show you how to make a apple crumble with a bit of rhubarb in it, and I'm going to show you how to make the crumble in two different ways. So I'm going to turn the camera down so you can see what I am doing. Alright, so here I have a small bowl. You can see that my hand just goes over this bowl. So it's a 500 ml bowl, which is 2 cups. So make sure that you're using the right bowl for the recipe. If you're doubling the recipe, then obviously you can go to a bigger bowl. But this is just for 2 people. I thought I'd make some recipes just for 2 people as requested. Okay, in this bowl I have very cold butter straight from the fridge, and I have my sugar. So I have raw sugar and the flour and the butter, and that's all you need. And in this bowl I have the cinnamon and more sugar, and that's going to go over the apple. So here I have 1 stick of rhubarb, and you can see that I've lightly peeled it, so it's just that much that's come off. But it is good to peel it a little bit to make it so that it's not stringy when you come to eat it. And then we're just chopping it up, so it's had a good wash. So we'll chop it up into smallish pieces, just a couple of centimetres. That nobody's measuring, it's entirely up to you. But it will cook quite evenly if you do it in levels like this, okay? Pop that into the sugar, and then we're going to cut around the core of the apple. So 1/4 turn for each one there. Take that around, and you end up with the core. Put that to the side, and then just roughly chop your apple. Some larger chunks, some smaller chunks, but not too big. That. It's just 2 apples. Now these apples are not overly big, but big enough for this particular size pan. So again, we go around our second apple, taking that core, get rid of that, and roughly chop. And that's that. And then we'll just use a spoon to mix the sugar and cinnamon through the apple. So just take a spoon, mix that through so it's nicely coated. Cinnamon smells lovely. And then you'll just put that into your little dish. And please note here that I've got lots of room left for our crumble. So if the dish is too full, you won't be able to fit all that lovely crumble in. So you need a bit of a gap. So and you'll see here all the crumble will fall down in the middle between the apple. So that can go to the side. Now there are 2 ways or 3 ways of doing your crumble. So we can mix it by hand, which is the rub-in method. Gradually you're going to squash down your pieces of butter into your flour mixture, and this takes about 10 minutes. It's quite therapeutic once you get going, but if your hands aren't strong enough or they get tired, you can do it in a food processor. I'm very guilty of doing that in a food processor. Just don't go too far with it. You want it until it's looking like sand. But if you go too far, you'll have pastry. So don't take it too far. So what you're going to do, you don't need to incorporate air, but if you're lifting your hands up to your body, it saves you bending over the bowl too much. And we're just going to squeeze this out. I've made a lot of crumble over the last week, and what you can do is if you're making a bigger batch, you can pop it in a bag or in a container and put it in the freezer. Just put the date on it and what it is, obviously, and the next time you fancy a crumble or you've got a couple of apples that you need to use up, then you can make an apple crumble. What I have found is it's best to use the Granny Smith apples. I've used Pink Lady apples, and they seem to take longer to cook. So sometimes with the sweeter apples, because of the texture of them, it might be better to just pop them in a saucepan and put them on the stove for about 5 minutes with the sugar and the cinnamon, and you'll find that they'll then cook very nicely. But the green apples are perfect for the crumble. So you can rub it in like this if you wish, bearing in mind the butter is lovely and cold. If your butter is at room temperature, very soft, you won't be able to do this. It makes it very difficult to rub the butter and the sugar in, the butter into the sugar and the flour, should I say. So just keep going. It takes about, I don't know, 5 to 6 minutes to do that. And as I say, that's why it's good. And then last night, middle of the night, I had this thought. I thought, oh, if you've got a NutriBullet, we could test doing it in that. So I'm going to show you how to do that. After about 6 attempts, I got it right. Okay, so you can see here that that's what we want. It's nicely rubbed in, and if you've got the odd little bit of butter, you know, like this, that will melt down as it cooks. And then you simply pour this over your crumble, and it should be the perfect amount, as I've tested it about 6 times to get this just right. And there we are. So just push it into the corners. And then my best advice is to place it onto a baking tray before you pop it in the oven, and that'll cook for 25 minutes. So just before I do that, I'll show you this. So in here, I have the sugar and the flour, and I've had this butter in the freezer, and that makes a big difference when you're using a NutriBullet. So I'll pop those in. We'll put the top on. Make sure it's on properly. Give it a little shake, and that just coats the butter, okay? And then bring in the big gun, and I'll just lift the screen a little bit, and then pop that on. 1 second. Let's have a look. And look at that. Amazing. What a good hack, hey? One little butter left, but that's okay. We'll crumble that in. And there we are. 1 second in the NutriBullet. So because I have copious amounts of crumble now, I'm going to pop that in a freezer bag, label it, and freeze it for next time. So let me just clean my hands. I'll put the crumble into the oven. And in true television form, I've got another one coming out of the oven. So I'll show you that. I'll put a ball here, put this in the oven. Set my timer for 25 minutes, and here we have the crumble all cooked and looking beautiful. So you want that golden colour, and you want that oozing to come up from the rhubarb and the apple. When you get that juicy bit, then it's a good indication that all your fruit is cooked. So there we have it, a quick apple crumble with a bit of rhubarb. Enjoy. See you next time.